Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And I have been working really hard on finishing this little three-fold or two-fold journal, trifold journal? I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but I thought I'd better take a break and do a video. So today I've been wanting to make some more beads, and I've made some beads in the past, and I thought it would be fun to make some paper beads together. So I have three different styles here. I have some tube beads where it's just the same circumference all the way across. And then I have some oval beads here that I've made from different papers. And then some sort of barrel shaped beads. And these are all like, this is wrapping paper. This is the same wrapping paper. I've also made them out of just regular copy dyed paper, inked paper. Let's see, here's one that's made out of book page, and I've made several out of book page. This is another one that's made out of book page. Have one that you can even use maps, or wouldn't this look cute on a hiking journal or a travel journal? And you can use music page or whatever. I think this is my favorite one that I've made in the last couple of days. Don't know if you can see it. It looks like porcelain, doesn't it? But I want to show you what I made that from. You're never going to guess. I made it from a junk mail envelope. And this is just the inside of the security envelope. And I really like the way that it looks. So that made a beautiful bead. The other thing that I wanted to discuss first is different kinds of finishes that you can use on paper beads. You can either use like no finish, which if you're using wrapping paper to make little beads, you know, the shiny wrapping paper, it really doesn't need a shinier finish, but it probably would be good to, you know, seal it down with some Mod Podge or something like that. This has just clear embossing powder on it, and this is a book page, or a magazine page, I should say. These have distress glaze on them, and they're just basically copy dyed paper that I did some distress glazing on. And I used weathered wood, the distress embossing glaze, weathered wood, and broken china, these different colors. And I really like the way this one came out. I mean, it really looks like wood. I was comparing it with my wooden bead here, and it looks a lot like wood. I mean, you can hardly tell it's paper. And then let's see, there are some other finishes. I've got some diamond glaze finish that you can use, but you can also use just regular nail polish. I think this is just clear nail polish. You can use glitter nail polish too. That also looks nice. But I think I really like the embossing powder. This one is diamond glaze. This one is the distress glaze in the fired brick, and I think that one's really pretty. And this one is just copy dyed paper with what did I use on this? I think I used diamond glaze. And then for the ends, I mean, I don't have any bead cores, but I have some eyelets that I've used in scrapbooking and things like that. So a couple of different sizes of eyelets. Here are some examples of some finished ones that I've made. This one is a map. This one is a book page. And just by adding some glass beads and some metal beads and some wire and a dangle, they are really pretty. I think they came out really nice. So the first thing I want to do is work on a tube bead. And I have some pretty plain paper here. It's just scrapbook paper. It really doesn't have a lot of interest in it, but we can make it interesting. Now, one thing to remember is that the width of your paper determines the length of your bead. And the length of your paper determines the thickness of your bead, you know, how big around it is. And whether or not you taper it, you know, the length of the taper determines the fatness of the bead in the middle. So we're just going to go ahead and make a tube bead, and it's not going to be, you know, very wide or long. I'm just going to do an inch, and you know, you can do it any width that you want to, but I'm just going to cut mine at an inch. And I have this this wooden stick. It's actually one that I use when I'm sewing and I'm turning, you know, seams inside out. That's not a good explanation, but anyway, you can use a skewer or a straw or something like that. So what I'm going to do is just start wrapping it around this stick. And you don't have to worry about, you know, whether or not it's like totally straight, because when you take it off of the stick, I like to get a little bit closer to the end, you can adjust it. You're just going to squish it together. And you can see I'm really going wonky. But that's okay for this type of bead. I'm not too worried about it. And so you just kind of pull it off the stick and squish it down. And I'm going to take some art glitter glue, because it's just paper, and seal up the end like so. Now at this point you can use glossy Mod Podge or the diamond glaze or a matte glaze, or you know, matte Mod Podge, or however you want it to look is, you know, basically tells you what kind of finish you want to put on it. Sometimes the center kind of unrolls a little bit, and when that happens, you stick the stick in there and just get it sort of, you know, kind of ream it out a little bit to smooth it. So I think for this one, because it has a little bit of a color already, I'm going to use weathered wood as a distress glaze. I'm just going to take my embossing ink and roll it like so. Okay, that's plenty. And I'm just going to pour some on there and roll it in. And again, you can use any color or no color or whatever you want. So I'm just going to emboss it. Okay. So it has a nice little shine to it and a little hint of color. Okay, so now I'm going to make a tapered one. And for that, I'm going to use this piece of inked coffee dyed paper, because I just wanted something with a lot of color in it. And that's why I want to do a taper one, because when you do it tapered, then you see kind of the color all the way through it instead of just what's on the end. So if I want my bead to be, let's say 3/4 of an inch, okay, so I'm just going to basically go 3/4 of an inch to the tip, you know, 3/4 at one end and down to the tip. But I don't want it to be this right angle here. So I'm gonna put it so that my tip is kind of on the middle in the grid, like so. And then I'm just going to, let's see, I'm pivoting here and then straightening out that bottom. I can do it even a little bit more. Okay. Now if you want to know how I did the inking part, I do have a video on that, and I'll link it at the end. All right, so basically I'm doing the same thing, but now because I want the taper in the middle, now I have to pay a little bit closer attention to how I'm rolling it. It's easier to get it off of the skewer if you put it a little closer to the end. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here just to kind of anchor it when I'm rolling it. Sometimes it's kind of tricky to get it started, but once you have it started, it goes pretty well. And you can adjust it a little bit, as you go. Like I need to right now. And then I just kind of add glue. It doesn't really need a lot, just as I'm going. But you want the taper to go roughly down the center so that it's fatter in the middle. There we go. And that, I think, is a real pretty little bead. So now we have to decide what kind of finish we want to put on it. This one is dry now. I'll put this in here. Oh, before I put this one away completely, I want to put this end cap on, this little eyelet. And then that kind of finishes it off. And this is an optional step. You don't really need to do it. But I like the way it looks. And I don't have them on all of them because I don't have eyelets that fit every single one of the beads that I made. And I'm kind of running out of eyelets. I was just in Michael's today and I was looking for eyelets and they are nowhere to be found. So I'm just using some art glitter glue on the ends and then just popping the eyelet right in there. Okay, that's a nice little bead. So for the finish on this one, I don't want to make it any different color. So instead of using any kind of the distress glaze, I'm just going to use clear embossing powder. And again, if you don't have an embossing gun or a heat tool or embossing powder or anything like that, you can use nail polish, which is what I did, or the diamond glaze, and I really like that too. I think that's really pretty. And emboss. Now, one reason I like the embossing powder over like the nail polish or something like that is because it's super fast and it doesn't take very long to dry. The other ones take quite a while to dry sometimes, so I just, prefer instant gratification, I guess. Now for the next one, I wanted to do a barrel bead, one that is more like this, where it's, it's kind of stubby, but it's a little bit fatter in the middle. And for that, I'm using the same paper that I made this one out of, which is just some scrapbook paper that I have. Now you can see these are really long, and it's in two pieces. And the reason it's in two pieces is because the first part of it is you want it to still be fat and then start to taper instead of tapering right away. If you have one that's totally tapered like this piece, then it's going to be more of an oval bead as opposed to one of these that's a little bit fatter in the middle. So we're just going to go ahead and roll this up like we did the first one, the tube bead, which is basically what we're doing is we're making a tube bead, but you can see it's quite a bit longer strip than the one that we made in the beginning. I'm just rolling it up, trying to keep it straight, but not fretting about it too terribly much. And then take it off of the stick. And this is, by the way, this is about a 1/2 inch wide. And then the second strip that you taper starts out at the same width. And then you taper up to a point. And I just used 12-inch scrapbook paper. I have a bunch of strips of scrapbook paper from these little credit card holders, I guess, or gift card holders that I made as gifts when we went to Ecuador a couple of years ago. And I made them, and I had all this, these leftover strips, and of course I'm not about to throw them away. And now I know what to do with them. I can make these beads. Now that I've got this on, I want to put this second strip on right about at the seam so it's overlapping. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the end. And start rolling. And this one you do want to keep it so that the taper is in the center. So there we have this little bead, kind of stubby, in the shape of a little barrel. All right, so now to glaze this one, I could use the diamond glaze, but like I said, that one takes a long time to dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and emboss this one like I did the other ones using the clear embossing powder. Can you see this one? Now that it's done, I think that one came out really pretty. This is a really great thing to do when you make background papers or just using up scraps, whatever you have, really, seriously. Just, magazine pages, they all look really pretty. Look at this one. This is a magazine page. And I think that came out really, really pretty. Even though, it's a kind of a skinny long bead, but that's okay. This one, I really like this one too. This one was a book page. I think that's really pretty. And I don't want to give this one another color because I think I really like the color on here. But you can change the color just by using the Distress Glaze. Okay. That one's really pretty too. I really like the way that looks. So we'll let this one cool. Now, if you are using diamond glaze or nail polish or something like that, you can, once you get the nail polish or whatever on it, you can just set it on some sort of a wire and put it over a tray or something like that until it dries. So why don't we make some book jewelry, something like this. So what I would like to do is take one of the beads we just did. Let's make this one. And we can use maybe this one with it too, possibly, along with some glass beads. So I have some beads here and here. These are plastic, but I like the way they look. So what I like to do is when I'm deciding how to arrange this, actually I think I'm not going to use that one. I think I'm just going to use this one for now. Kind of get my colors just the way I like them. And I don't have one of those cool bead trays, so I just kind of wing it. I'm going to take some wire. And I have this, I think this is 20 gauge wire. And I like to measure, around 3 or so lengths of what I'm doing, of my little pattern here. And it helps to have some of these round nose pliers as opposed to the flat nose pliers, or flat jaws, I guess I should say. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap this around. A few times. Like so. And that's the bottom. That anchors the bottom. And then I just start stringing my beads in whatever pattern I like. I'm sure, you know, all of you who have done beading for a long time know exactly what to do. I don't want to just leave it like that. But first I need to make the top. Just going to bend it kind of at a 90 and then bring this around like so and wrap it and then wrap it around. I've got a lot of wire here, so it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. Like that. And then I just straighten it out. Now, what to do with the rest of this wire? Well, I want to wrap it around the rest of the beads, like so. And when I get to this one, you know, the tube bead, I want to give it a little bit of interest. So I'm going to take some of these kind of shiny, these little seed beads. Can you see these? These are the ones I got at the Dollar Tree. And I got these at the Dollar Tree too, these little, in the crafter square. Can you see that okay? Yeah. So that's a pretty good deal, actually. For $1, you get quite a few beads. So I'm just going to string quite a few on here. And then as I'm wrapping, I'm just going to space them. You just kind of space them until they're kind of in the position that you want them to be. And you can go back up the other way. And then back down. And then I wrap it around the rest of the beads. And anything that's poking out like that one, just squish in. Now if you want to, you can put a tassel or something like that on the very end. But what I'm going to do is put a little charm on the end. I have this little butterfly here that I'm going to put on with a jump ring. And when you do open jump rings, you do it from the, you know, to the side, not. There we go. And butterfly. And then for the top, you need another jump ring. I have this little lobster claw. I think that's what they're called. There we go. This pretty little bead that you can put, you know, made out of paper, and you would never know that it was made out of paper if you weren't the one that was making it. Nice little butterfly on the end. And you can just keep going and just keep creating and, you know, do them any way that you like, which is kind of the fun of doing these. So these are some of the other ones that I've made. A lot of these are super simple, just tube beads mostly, but you can see that you can add all kinds of dangles to them. This one's made out of wrapping paper. This is scrapbook paper. This one is wrapping paper too. So this one, I got this wrapping paper at a shower. I offered to recycle all of the wrapping paper from the gifts. So and this was wrapping paper as well. So it's just a lot of fun to do these. You can make them, like I said, in front of the TV. Have fun with it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative for you. I hope you get some inspiration too. So if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you. And I thank all of my subscribers and everyone who's watching because I really appreciate it. And please feel free to leave me a comment. I really enjoy reading them and I answer every single one. So, by the way, I just want to let everybody know too that When I first started making videos, I was doing 3 a week, and that just got to be really overwhelming for me. So I'm probably only going to do 1 or 2 a week going forward, just so that I can have time to work on journals and things like that. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in my next video. And let the serendipity find you. Bye, everybody.